Now, both of your families suggested that you wait to get married until Gypsy's release. Why did you choose not to do that?
We didn't want to date. She'd come out and be like, okay, I'm going 3.5 hours away from where you live. I'll talk to you later.
When I first heard this in the interview, I immediately was like, oh, he's terrified of losing her. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel, Dating According to. And today we're going to be watching an older interview with Gypsy Rose and her soon-to-be ex-husband that came out when she first came out of prison, jail. I get them both confused. I found it again just recently, and I think some of the dynamics are fascinating to watch between the two of them. So I just wanted to watch it again. I've got my morning cup of coffee, and let's get started.
Look at the newlyweds. So cute. And rocking that new ring, too. I see,
know.
Gypsy.
This was actually his mother's, so this passed down to me. So
It was always meant to go to my wife, so.
and it fits perfectly. It didn't need to be adjusted at all or anything.
Well, I guess it was just meant to be.
Meant to be, right?
Exactly.
You are the one.
I do kind of wonder if she threw that little, like, it fits perfectly just to, I don't know if we'll ever know if she hoped to be able to make it work out. I'm curious if she meant to make it work with Ryan or if she always planned on it not working, but I could kind of see her trying to convince herself that it's meant to be by the fact that the ring fit and trying to convince the audience that it's meant to be. So mentioning that the ring fit, I don't know, just could be some interesting psychology there.
You sit on the green.
Right.
So I got to know, though, Gypsy, how many men wrote to you wanting to date you while you were in prison?
A lot.
I need some numbers. Well, give me an estimate.
I always found this really interesting when you look at Ryan's face. He is smiling in that. He's like nodding and smiling. And to be honest, if I was a guy dating a woman hearing about how many other men had written to her, I wouldn't be excited to hear that, but we'll get into it in a sec.
Come on, hit her. Hit her with it.
Over 250.
Over 250?
Yeah.
From all different countries.
From all countries,
I
Italy,
said
Germany.
7 continents have hit on you.
All right, so what about...
Yeah, so he's proud of the fact that I never really understood it at first. Why is he so proud of the fact that so many guys from all over reached out to her? And then it kind of dawned on me, oh, I bet he feels like he's the special chosen one out of all of those men. And I'm sure it's an ego boost for him. So he wants Gypsy to tell the interviewer exactly how many men from all over wrote to her because he's the one who got her.
Ryan made him the one. What was different about Ryan?
Well, Ryan's from Louisiana, and I mean, there's one of a kind. But he's from Louisiana, and I'm originally from Louisiana. So I saw that, and I'm kind of like, hey, someone from my home state. We probably have a lot in common. So I wrote him a letter back.
I'm just gonna be honest. I always thought that was a really dumb answer. I mean, I guess in a way, yeah. If someone's from your home state, then you're gonna have more to talk about for 5 minutes maybe, or maybe a little more depending, but saying someone from your home state has a lot in common with you is like saying, oh, I'm left-handed, you're left-handed. We have so much in common. I mean, it's not really how that works, but okay.
We became friends, and then of course more than friends, and then now we're married.
Incredible. Congratulations to you
you.
both. How many women now have tried to pursue you, Ryan, now that you're with Gypsy?
I hadn't even give it any thought. I mean, look at this beautiful woman I'm sitting next to.
But I have
Why
a feeling that there's a lot of attraction coming to you from other women out there
Somewhat.
because of...
There has been a few, and I hit the block button. I'm like, block.
And that I also found really fascinating because Ryan, I mean, not that I think that it's healthy, but Ryan was very much in support of all of the men who were interested in Gypsy because that gave him an ego boost. Gypsy, on the other hand, is blocking all the women who are reaching out to Ryan because that makes her jealous. So it's an interesting dichotomy there.
And I just let her. I'm like, yeah, go for it.
Happy wife, happy life.
That's
Ryan.
right.
So how is it now being a newlywed couple in the real world, outside of prison?
We call it a newly together wed.
Yeah.
Because we've been married
A year and a half.
year and a half.
Right.
now.
So it's newly together wed, but it's nice. It's what I've been waiting for.
But was the transition different?
I find that interesting. I understand sort of where he's coming from, but the reality is you're not married in prison. I mean, I know nothing about what it's like to be in prison, but that's just, it's not a relationship. It's not by any means real life. It's such a bubble that they absolutely are newlywed, regardless of how long they've been married and been together. Newlywed the day that she got out.
I mean, for a year or so, you guys were married behind bars. Now you're newly together. So what's that transition been like for the two of you?
I mean, baby, what, it's been 5-6 days?
Yeah, but
so
I
we're
think
still learning each other.
Yeah, the
you know?
transition has been pretty
But it's
simple
been
right
good.
now, but it's like I cleaned out his closet and put my clothes in it, and I'm just
I have
kind
a
of
room already. Don't let her fool you.
so like integrating, into our new life together and just settling into married life. We cooked our first dinner together.
I understand the whole closet thing is kind of like an ongoing joke for a lot of couples. My husband and I didn't have an issue with that. Like, his stuff is on one side, mine is on another. It's a walk-in closet. There we go. I don't have a ton of stuff. Half the stuff I probably don't even wear. So I know that that's a running joke, but given what we now know about Gypsy and Ryan, I think that that is an interesting little visual into, as she moved into his place and moved his stuff. It was like, here I am. Here's my stuff. This is going to be married life. And it's kind of like, no, that needs to be a conversation of, hey, what are your thoughts on space? This is kind of what I need. How can we work this out? Can I take over more if you have less stuff? Do I need to maybe get rid of some things? Like, let's talk this through. That's how it should go. Doesn't sound like it went that way.
It's fun. We're learning about each other. I've already told him to put this toilet seat down several times.
And
you say
Gypsy?
I believe I told my husband this. I told my friend this just recently. I made it a point in my mind, probably like day 2 of marriage, where I was like, there are so many life things that I'm sure we're going to have to work through and talk through, and we're, of course, going to have disagreements. I will not let the toilet seat being up be one of them. I know a lot of couples get big mad at each other, but here's the thing. Of all the life issues that can and will happen, of all the life issues that are going to be extremely difficult to work through, taking half a second to put the toilet seat down is not a life issue. So, just throwing that out there.
It'll never end. You
It'll
will
never
constantly
end.
have to
I'm
tell
like
them.
Hounding.
Yeah, just get
Nay,
used
nay,
to
nay.
it.
Now, of course, I mean, we can't know what the conversation was between the two of them, and, with her stipulations of getting out, maybe she kind of had to live with him in some ways. I have no idea how that all works. But with him saying the whole, I didn't want her to move hours away and be like, see ya, what that means is I didn't trust her to move hours away from me and not stay faithful to me. And I haven't watched any of the shows that came out on TV, but they made it clear that she was interested in Ken days before she was even set to officially marry Ryan. And all of that. And now she's back with Ken. Shocking. So clearly that was in the back of Ryan's head, I'm sure, of if she doesn't come live with me, she's probably going to go run off with him. And that no one should be getting married in a context like that. That means there's not trust, there's fear, there is valid concern. That when I heard him say that, it was like, oh my goodness, I don't know how this is going to work, because this is founded on terror, which is the worst way to start a marriage.
People did want us to wait some, but it was one of those where we knew what we wanted to do. And, and it's she's never got to live her life before, so it's one of those where our parents were like, well, let's let her live it, and that's what they did.
But understandably so, if you're living your life really for the first time, was there not a part of yourself that wanted to do it alone, independently?
I think that spending 8.5 years in prison, all I was alone.
Yeah.
And I was tired of sleeping in a bed by myself. I was tired of feeling like I had no one to share memories with. I always knew that I wanted to share it with someone. I just didn't know who.
Mm-hmm.
And
I always thought that was really interesting. And there's a part of me where my heart goes out to how lonely it must be to be in prison. Obviously, I think there's people there that need to be there. There's people there that shouldn't be there. It's a very complex issue. But just from a human perspective, my heart breaks for how lonely and isolated it is in there. However, and this can only come with humility and time. The dynamic, and I mean, in my past, before I met my husband, I fell into this as well. The dynamic of people being overly confident in their stability and ability to be in a relationship is pervasive whether or not you're incarcerated. I think a lot of people see themselves as being very capable of being in a healthy relationship, and then they enter into all of these unhealthy things and they get confused as to why it's not working out because they wouldn't be honest with themselves that they actually weren't in a stage to be in a healthy relationship. And I fell into that myself. So that's not me pointing the finger. Had to learn a lot of lessons to actually even be in a space to meet my husband in a healthy way. And I think that's exactly Gypsy's story. While my heart breaks for her being alone, I don't think she was allowing herself to be humble enough to recognize, I don't know how to have a healthy relationship. I haven't really had a single healthy relationship in my entire life. And just because I've been single, forcibly single while incarcerated, I need time to get into the real world and to study and understand how to actually be a healthy human to enter into a healthy relationship. And it's naivety, arrogance, entitlement. I mean, you could call it all kinds of things, but just her mindset that she was single for so many years and she was tired of it is a very unwise way to handle her incarceration, even though I know it gets lonely. I'm very lonely in there, I'm sure.
Awesome.
My mother walked into the room and she had a wheelchair with her. And very bluntly told me to use the wheelchair. I didn't understand her reasonings, but I trusted her. She was my best friend, and I loved her.
What reservations, if any, do you have about having children someday after considering what you've experienced in your own childhood?
Do we have any reservations?
I don't have any reservations. We both have talked about starting a family. We just don't know when yet. My life is a little hectic right now, so we're just trying to take it day by day. We're just trying to start off the marriage on a good foot before we bring kids into the situation right now.
But never.
Didn't mean to cut him off. I mean, that's very wise to not jump into having kids before you actually know who your spouse is. I did find her face to be a little bit interesting there. She looks kind of like we do. I feel like, again, now that we know what happened afterward, I feel like deep down inside she's like, we do not want to bring kids into this mess. So good on them for not doing that. I feel very bad for their adorable little puppy. But yeah, anyway, I'm just rambling at this point.
Never.
Yeah. Ryan, how are you dealing with the newfound fame and being in the spotlight?
It's different. I'm a very private person. You know, I'm a teacher, so it was one of those where I didn't want my school involved or any of my kids, but it's been different. I knew who I married. You know, it was one of those where we talked long and extensively about it. You know, she was like, are you sure? Are you sure? And of course I was, and now I'm in love with this girl. So it was one of those where it was not even, you know, it wasn't even a question. I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry you, you know?
I'm so bad at pausing on awkward, well, I'm good at pausing on awkward facial expressions. I know that he said he's a very private person, and I know we can't always trust news stories that, you know, will come out about how people handle themselves in these situations, but my internal thought has always been, how private can you really be, or how desirous of a private life can you really be if you take the step to pursue someone as public as Gypsy? I mean, it could be said that he had no idea how much she wanted to be public, but I mean, I don't think that's possible. She was doing constant interviews while incarcerated. There is a part of me, a big part of me, that really thinks that he wanted the validation of the attention and the fame that being with Gypsy gave. And maybe I'll do a separate video. I really think that he got a lot of self-worth from his relationship with her. And I mean, obviously we want to find people that can help us feel confident within our own skin, but our sense of value and worth has to come completely separately from the people we're with. So I don't think that was true of him. And that really worried me for them. And I'm not shocked, honestly, that it's turned out the way it has at this point.
I knew I was going to marry you from the first moment I met you and talked to you, maybe. But it's one of those, I fell in love with the moment I heard her voice.
What do you say to the haters that don't think this relationship will pan out?
Just wait and see. We love proving people wrong.
Well, you're already clapping back on social media. Y'all had some spicy things to say to each other.
Well, we're newlywed, like, you know,
I mean,
we're married.
What's
I mean,
hard for me is watching, you know, the negative comments towards him. I can handle negative comments towards me because I don't care. But when it's about someone...
So loud. There's another YouTuber, Radiant Brit, and she has introduced me to the concept of the most bothered, unbothered person, and Gypsy Rose is absolutely the most bothered, unbothered person on the internet right now. She cares very much what people have to say to her, and she hates, and she loves clapping back when people get annoyed at her. And oh my word, it's hilarious how she acts like she doesn't care about hate towards her, but she cares about hate towards Ryan. Like, come on, let's be real. Ooh.
Love, I want to clap back. And that was my, you know, clap back a little bit. I'm going to come to his defense. He's my man.
Yeah.
Like, that's what wives do.
That's the end of the video. He's her man. Well, if for a little bit. Yeah, that interview was so interesting, and I'm very curious what the interviewer was thinking. The interviewer herself was pretty fascinating. I won't really comment much on that. She just her vibe is very much like a tell me all the tea kind of vibe. Yeah, but that just the little undercurrents of dynamics even in that interview to me were very clear that they did not have a stable foundation, and neither of them, I don't think, to be honest, really understood what was needed and what it takes to create a solid foundation. I feel like it really was kind of like they were just saying at the end, like, let's just see what happens. And that should never be how marriage goes. Marriage should never be, let's just try it and see. It should be, I have complete confidence in you. I have complete confidence in myself. And I believe with my whole heart that we can make this work for the rest of our lives. Let's commit to each other and do this and do the hard work and recognize that it's not going to look like a Hollywood movie. Hollywood sells us a complete lie about marriage, but that doesn't mean that we can't make it into an incredible, beautiful thing with the hard work that it entails. Yeah, I really didn't get that vibe from Gypsy or Ryan, but I do hope that life will teach them what real marriage looks like, and that maybe life will bring them both good people in time if they are actually willing to learn the lessons. So there we go.